Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 24, written by user StormWolf1337. He was swimming, just a normal day, but started to drown. Panic ensued. Friends panicking. Then he was alright. Was this quantum immortality with a teleportation event too? I've told this story so many times before, and to this day I have no rational explanation for it, nor does anyone that has analyzed the sequence of events. It began on a trip to a popular creek many would gather at to party, take a dip, or just hang with the family. The water of the privately owned creek was dark and about knee level for a regular adult, with even children being able to wade most of it without worries. There was a small deep section that was more to the far edges, but I was unaware of this. It was summer vacation when I was about 16 or 17, I think, and I got my group together for a huge party there. After a few hours of us partying and hanging on the shore, a few of us took a dip. My swimming skills are nothing amazing, but I can at least not sink like cement. I began wading out a bit, and within seconds I felt my feet completely slide off the edge of the shallower bit into the deep end. I could feel the forward momentum of my slipping carrying me forward a lot too, so much so that I couldn't even reach the edge with my toe tips. I began to panic and sink. It felt like that was the end, that surety of death after gulping down nothing more than cold water. I couldn't get a foothold, much less propel myself in any direction. As I swallowed mouthfuls of liquid, hoping for oxygen, I could feel the darkness of the water itself just surround my consciousness, as if I was being taken by that cold abyss. At that point, I kinda came to terms with death. This is it, I'm done. At that exact moment, that exact thought, I felt a spark of pure energy. To hell with this, I'm not gonna die, was the only thought I had left. I attempted to flail a bit. It was a useless movement, but I wasn't giving up. Somehow or another, I ended up back completely on the shallower bit, my feet firmly planted on muddy soil that wasn't there a second before. Not on the edge of the shallow bit, but about 4 feet away from the deep end. I then saw everyone rushing towards me, my friends swimming frantically. To their eyes, I was in the deep end but a second ago, about to drown. And the next I had saved myself before they were even halfway to me. Not more than a minute or two had passed, yet for me, it seemed so much longer, my perception of time changing because of adrenaline, who knows. There was simply no way I could have moved that distance through my weak flailing at the limits of my breath. I moved at least 6 or 8 feet total, as 2 dudes in the group swam out to where they saw me. And also based on the distance from the slope that ends the shallow bit to the deep end. It was a considerable distance if you aren't swimming. They were all pretty dumbfounded. No one knew what the hell happened, but we were all just bloody relieved. We've discussed that event so many times, yet it remains a genuine mystery to them and me especially. Maybe I teleported. Maybe I was saved by some higher being, a guardian angel even. All that I'm certain of is that I might have teleported through space-time before that spark of life left me. Case notes, file number 24. This is peculiar indeed. As I'm reading this, my gut instinct is to assume a crossover. That you died, quantum immortality saved you, effectively loading a save state into another universe. But the odd thing is your group seeing this happen. That you were drowning and then you weren't. You'd have remembered drowning, but the group wouldn't have seen anything out of the ordinary. Unless it's sort of a combo. Maybe a guardian angel saved you in the quantum immortality crossover universe, not the original one, but where you ended up. That seems unlikely though. Why save you after you crossed over? Unless for some reason your consciousness needs to inhabit this version of yourself. I don't know. It's a stretch, to be sure. But outside of actual teleportation, which shouldn't be possible, and I haven't really read any accounts of that. Of course you could say, well, maybe adrenaline just gave you ultra strength for a second, and you managed to propel yourself much further than you think? Maybe. I guess I can't discount that. But I'm sure as you were there, and as your friends describe it, it just doesn't seem like that. They would have seen ripples on the water move. Let us know if anything else odd or, let's say, important happens to you in the future. I'm very curious. Case number 25, written by user iselenaii. She made a call to her dad while he was visiting relatives, and this happened 30 years ago. Her dad just recognizing this call way in the past as his daughter's voice. I recently posted about me disappearing into thin air when I was sleeping, and my family couldn't find me when I woke up. They swore up and down that they searched all over for me, but weren't able to find me. This is not an update, but something that just happened yesterday. 3 days ago, I was having a conversation with my father, and he was telling me about his university life. My dad came from nothing. He had a very difficult upbringing and went to the worst school and high school in our city. When it was time for him to join university, my grandfather passed away, leaving my dad to take care of the rest of the family, as he was the oldest son. He took the wrong major because of the terrible advice from some people. He severely regrets that to this day. The courses were taught in English, which is a second language for us. He didn't even know the language. My dad told me that it was the darkest time in his life, and he just wanted to run away. He was even thinking of taking his own life. Now, very recently, he got his master's in English literature. He was telling me that he didn't think it would ever be possible for him. My dad just recently finished this degree at the age of 55. The next morning, my dad had to drive to this town because his distant relatives live there, and they're struggling financially. My dad is a very kind soul, and he wanted to help them. The town is 3 hours drive away. He usually takes public transport, but didn't because of the recent crisis. He drove there and my mom was worried, so we decided we'll give him a call every hour to check. Well, I decided to call him. Now, keep in mind, because it's a highway, network signals get very weak. He told me to wait and parked at a nearby restaurant. It was like a checkpoint for trucks. I don't know what came over me, but I started crying and went on to tell him about how proud of him I was. I just babbled and kept saying that he shouldn't think he's lacking because he's not. He was an amazing father and a great person to look up to. You guys, my dad just started crying. He told me that he'll talk to me when he returns. Well, he returned, and he just hugged me and was telling me about how 30 years ago he was visiting the same town. And it was the time when he was at his lowest. He was visiting the same relatives, and he was on a bus which stopped at a petrol station. He called his mother, and when he picked up the phone without even dialing, he heard my voice. It was telling him the same thing which I had just said yesterday. He said that he didn't even call my grandmother. He just stood there and cried. It gave him the strength to keep fighting. He said he just now realized that it was me whose voice he had heard back then. My parents are now taking this as a sign from God, who helped my dad when he thought no one else was there for him. Case notes, file number 25. This is such a beautiful tale. So either God gave him the impression of your voice talking to him, a daughter that he didn't even know he was going to have, the exact words he needed to hear at the time to save him. As you mentioned, he was even contemplating suicide, so it really did save him. Or somehow your call transcended time in a way that really defies the traditional sense of time travel. Because normally any kind of connection to the past would involve a parallel universe. This helps to avoid paradoxes. But maybe this isn't always the case. One way or another, you helped your dad before he even had you. It's just truly beautiful. I think that's all I need to say here. I'm proud of your dad and of you. Amazing. And that concludes our case files for the night. If you enjoyed them, and my narration of them, consider leaving a like, and also subscribing. I upload Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. EST with new case files all the time. I'll see you there.